So tell me how your time at ECU helped you make this big decision.
In December of last year, I made the decision that I was going to leave the job I was in. And I'm coming from a slightly different history. So I had been in the field of higher ed for many, many years. So for 20 something years, I've been in the field of higher ed at the leadership level. For 12 of those years, I was at the VP or the C-suite level of a group of schools. So when the school was sold, I knew I was going to be laid off. I'd made plans for that. I had, everything put together. And that happened in August of 2021. And I had made up my mind then that I was going to take a little bit of time off. I was trying to figure out, do I grow my business or do I go back into corporate America? My son was getting ready to go to college. I was fresh out of a divorce. There's just a lot of things that were happening. And I got scared. And I took the first job that was offered to me. And that job was significantly below my prior earning potential. So I began to eat into my savings. Then my mom got sick. And I had to leave that job because she was put into hospice and I was not willing to be traveling while she was going through this process. So I left that job, took another job, equally below my potential because I was doing it for family. So we're now going into a year where I'm earning way below what I'm supposed to be earning. Then when that contract ended, I took another job, a little bit more money, but again, below my potential. December of last year, I finally just had it. I'd said, you have spent years coaching people into leadership and into strong entrepreneurship. For God's sake, Suzanne, you wrote a book teaching women how to get into the C-suite, and you're not doing it yourself. And that was when I met ECU. So I'm there doing what we do at night, scrolling through, and I'm like, Instagram, I'm like, just kind of clicked through, and said, let me see what happens. And then I had an interview. And that interview made me really stop and think about what I was going to do with my life. I decided that I always encourage people to invest in themselves. Well, then I needed to do the same. So I decided to invest in myself. And that was, I believe, January, like 17 or 18, somewhere around there. I have a 45-minute drive to work in the morning. So I would listen to the videos in the morning. So I wasn't watching, I was more hearing. So I would listen. Sometimes I would listen to the video on the way to work and then on the way back home so the message would sync.
You sound extremely confident, by the way, and extremely bold. And it sounds like you picked up on the concept that we teach people that you are the opportunity, right? Not just the job opportunity. What was the turning point or golden nugget that just hit you hey?
I think I've always known it, but you are taught as a woman to dim your light. And in my book, I talk about the fact that as women, there are so many pieces that go into it. As I'm female, I'm an immigrant, I'm a woman of color. There are many things that play into some of the decisions that I make that are going to be different from other women. And so I was always cautious of not seeming too confident, because confidence is perceived as arrogance. Mm-hmm. Men are allowed to be arrogant, women are not. And so you have to, there's that very thin line that you have to straddle between how you are perceived. I understood that delicate balance. And so when I first started this program, I was like, this is big and audacious. This is not how women operate in any way. But then I also learned that I was going to have to use the method, but feminize it in a way that worked for me. And I think that was what I was able to do. To take all of that confidence and not make it seem cocky, but make it seem, here's what I'm going to do for you. And here's the experience that I have. And you do have to soften your delivery when you're giving it. And it's sad that that's the world that we live in, but that's the world that we live in. Almost every single video that we watched told us to be authentically ourselves. And Kristina, when we did our mindset work, also said, you need to be you, because who you are is what people need to want to buy. And that's what I sold. I sold me to the group. I sold it to the board when I spoke with them. That's what I did. I was me, and those two board members went, let's go. Also listening to those weekly calls, whenever I could get on a call, every single person who had secured a job talked about their belief, their persistence, their tenacity, and their resilience. So it was that constant reminder that you have to be all of these things in order to get to where you want to get to. I had to remind myself, Suzanne, it's not about getting the job. It's finding something that's going to fulfill you. Those are two different things. The other thing that ECU did was reminded me to network. There are two people. There's Dr. Sue Speaks, who is the consultant, and then there's Dr. M, the person with the doctorate, who works in an organization. So I kind of have a split personality. ECU reminded me that even though I was looking for a job, I still also had to be marketing Dr. Sue, so that when I am ready to pick up a contract, people don't forget who I am and that I'm top of mind for them to say, hey, let's go talk to her because we want to do this training and we think she'd be really good to come to the organization or so. Yeah, ECU has been really helpful to me on two fronts. It's not just finding a 9 to 5 that, is my basis, but it's also allowed me to also grow my business.
We've worked with thousands of executives, over the course of many years. And when we talk to them, it's never, not, one time that someone has said, hey, I'm super happy in my career. I'm paid what I'm worth. I'm on the perfect team. It's fully aligned. I've had, a life-changing experience. We wish that was the case, but it's not. Are you one of those people now? Like, are you where you want to be? Or is everything just perfectly aligned for you and your purpose?
Today, yes. If you ask me that question in a year, the answer is going to be no. In a year, I am still here, then the answer is no. What I realize is in that shifting my career to where I am now, I am happy because I am at the foundation of where I need to be. Do I like the people that I'm going to be working with and respect them and think that the three of us together are going to make a phenomenal C team? Yes. Check that.
Why we find that these executives tend to be so unhappy is this exact story, right? Is it perfect for me now, but a year from now? No, because you're a high achiever. So you already know you've achieved one goal, you're where you're at, and now you're already thinking about the next goal and the next part of your vision.
This role was perfect for me because that was the aim of the job. When the CEO spoke with me, his thing to me was, when I took this job X years ago, I told them I was going to stay this long and then I was going to step down because they needed another person who had a different vision. What he and I discussed was his level of expertise is still needed in the company. I did not think he should leave because that was the job I interviewed for. I interviewed to replace him as the CEO. What I said to him is, you need to stay because you'd have to stay anyway for 8 months to train me to be able to take over. Why should we have a brain drain for you to spend 8 months training me? You stay and take on this, and then we will add a new role and I will take over those pieces and grow the company in the direction that it needs to grow. So that's why I took this role, because it gave me the latitude to be able to grow, which is what you, I'm sure, are always finding in the executives. We are not happy being static. That's not who we are. So we always have to be looking for the next thing. Most of us would like to do the next thing in the same company, unless we have gone as far as we can. And then at that point, we're like, yeah, I'm done. I need to move on. What I'm enjoying and why I think this is the perfect role for me is because it does give me the opportunity to grow, and not just grow because I'm growing, but growing while also helping other people and schools. That to me is ideal. Looking for not the end job, but the job that's going to fulfill you now and for the foreseeable future.
Tell me about this dream job.
I always wanted to stay in the realm of education, health, hence why I decided to go in learning and development. So this organization is a education adjacent organization. So they are LEARN, Library Information Resource Network, and they provide library and librarian services to colleges across the nation. So there's currently at the C-suite, there's a CEO and a COO. And I'm coming in as a CAO. So I'm coming in as the academic arm. So I am somebody who has actually used their services before. So I understand academics. I can work with people at university and college level. So I'm coming in there to take over the administrative arm of the organization, as well as the business development, marketing, and learning and development arm. So my job is to grow the business, market, and communicate what we do. So I'm still in education, just education adjacent.
What advice would you give someone considering working with ECU?
Follow the process.
Oh yeah, follow the process, trust the process, right?
Somebody who has been driving the train, like most of us have for 20 years, to follow the process is very difficult because we think that jumping ahead is going to get us the result that we want faster. And it really isn't. And so I remember, that very first, printing that checklist. And I'm a checklist person, so I love the checklist. But the other thing that I did was every single PDF that was in the training, I printed. And the reason that I did it is because whenever I was having a moment of doubt, I would go back and I would read and I would look at something and I would highlight, and it gave me notes to work from, because that's how you work. That's how I work as an educator. There is something about being tactile. We've become a very digital world. And as a digital world, we do everything on screen. but you're a mom. We still take out the book and sit down with the kid and have the kid read the book and point out the pictures. And there is something that organic that happens in that process. And so I had to take myself back into student mode and remember how I learned the best when I was in college, when I was in grad school, when I was in post-grad. Print everything, read it, highlight it, put notes beside it, because I was reminding myself about this on all levels. And so that is what I would tell anybody coming to ECU. Trust the process. Watch the videos, then listen to the videos. Don't just watch them, then listen to them. Because I think doing it both ways helps the message to stick.
The retention rate of information goes up to like 80% when you take notes.
Yes. So take notes, because you're now stored it in written memory. Get a planner and just follow the process. I had my spreadsheet open. I had every single, I had the jobs that I'd applied to. I filled out the spreadsheet. I made notes. Every week I would write like 4 articles. This is what I'm going to do on LinkedIn, so that I didn't have to do it in the week. I just would copy, paste, find a picture, post. So I did a lot of that. I used LinkedIn as part of my inspiration as well. I looked at what was happening out there. I was connecting with people on LinkedIn. So that's what I would tell them to do. I would get up and I would make a conscious effort. I worked from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. every day. So I treated looking for a job like a job. For anybody joining, follow the process, trust the process. You guys are really good at helping us to either find the correct job or see when the job opportunity presents itself.